this video, we will talk about what Andrew Tate, the internet's most controversial alpha male, has to say about passports, driving licenses, IDs abroad, and having bank accounts to protect your assets in different countries. That is exactly what we talk about here at Travel the Globe. So, we believe it's a point of view worth listening to. And we want to look into it to see if it's true, if his plan really does work, and how you can use it yourself. So in an interview with Anthony Pompliano, one of the most popular crypto influencers on YouTube, Tate actually talks about this topic some time ago, where he says he has more than 7 passports, more than 15 driver's licenses, residences in more than 30 countries, and banks in 40 countries. So, if the goal is for no government to be in charge of his life, the first thing he needs to do is get more passports and more residency, which according to him is not impossible. You will just have a headache doing so. So, without further ado, here is a breakdown of Andrew Tate's strategy on passports and citizenship from country to country. First things first, ancestry. Most people who know the strategy are able to do it through family ties. Andrew went to 17 countries during the lockdown because he had 7 passports and a private jet. He'll get in first out of all his 7 passports, which is quite a big deal. For the average investor, it is not possible unless they spend a lot of money on citizenship, either through investment or by having a very complicated family tree. So, if let's say your grandmother is from Finland, your parents are from both Australia and New Zealand, and you were born in Mexico, you could have about 4 different nationalities already. Number 2, money. It's too bad, but this is the truth. So, Tate says he has more than 7 passports, right? We believe that could be true. But if you can't get that many passports without going through the proper citizenship-by-investment process, and without getting the same passport over and over, you will have to take some shortcuts. For example, in the Caribbean, if you become a citizen of St. Kitts, St. Lucia, Antigua, or Dominica, you essentially get the same passport. So, you have the same rights as a citizen of each country. So you probably won't do all of those programs. Instead, you will probably do some in Eastern Europe, like in Romania. So let's say you have 2 passports. Your parents are from one country, but you were born in another country, and you want to get as many passports as possible. You might be able to become a citizen of, say, St. Kitts and Nevis by making an investment, just like Andrew did. Number 3, time. You can also get a golden visa for Portugal, which gives you the right to live there. And in about 6 to 7 years, you can already get a Portuguese passport. After that, you can move to another country and live there for, let's say, 5 or 7 years. In most countries, the Tate brothers have been living there for a very long time. If you want to become a citizen, you will have to pay taxes. So be ready to either live in a country for a long time, have a lot of money to spend on citizenship by investment, or have a very complicated family tree in order to apply for many different citizenships by descent. For number 4, driving licenses. When it comes to having different driving licenses, we think this is a pretty useful thing to do. If you get in trouble with a law in one country, for example, you can show a driving license from another country. Tate chose to get his driving license in the United Arab Emirates and Dubai, and he uses it all over the world. This is very helpful for sure. We wouldn't say that having 15 driving licenses makes that much of a difference because a driving license isn't a travel document or an identity unless you're using it for an exchange like finance. You can show a driving license, but sometimes they ask you to show a second form of ID. So the driving license needs to be accompanied by a passport or a residency ID card. Number 5. Employment and residency. When talking about having 30 different places to live and work around the world, Tate said that he has a place to live in Singapore. He really didn't say that he lives in Singapore, but he made it sound like getting Singaporean residency is much harder than it looks. When you type how to get residency in Singapore into Google, it seems like it would be pretty easy. You simply form a company and hire yourself under that company, and then you can get residency. But when Tate went to Singapore, he actually tried to go through this process, and he realized that it's very hard to do. It takes a long time, and you actually need a degree from a university to get a residence permit. For Tate, residency cards are hard for the average investor to get and are not worth the trouble. Instead, you should get 3, 5, or even 10 residence permits, one on each continent. For instance, you could have a residence permit in Latin America, one in Europe, one in Africa, one in the Middle East, and one in Asia. Now you have 5 or 6 residence permits in different countries, which can be very useful. 30 is a bit much, but he is right that if you live on so many grids, no single government can control you. Last but not the least, for number 6, bank accounts. Tate also said that he has bank accounts in more than 40 countries around the world. That is a lot of countries to have bank accounts in. No one can tell for sure if he's telling the truth when he says he has bank accounts in 40 different countries, because that can get very complicated. And if he is still a US citizen, it is possible that he gave up his US citizenship. If you have 30 different restaurant permits, 40 different bank accounts all over the world, and 7 different passports, why would you still have your US citizenship if you have to tell the US everything you do all over the world? Because of this, perhaps he gave up his US citizenship. Or he has some kind of partnership with his brother who might not be a US citizen either. So he uses that to avoid paying taxes, which is a very complicated thing. For example, if you put money in Latin America, Mexico, or Colombia, the banks may tell drug cartels that you did so. So you do need to be very careful, because a cartel might find out that you're putting $500,000 into a bank in Mexico, which could get you into trouble. Or you might be going to a country with a lot more risk, like Armenia or Kazakhstan, where you could lose all your money if something goes wrong. So, what do you think of Andrew Tate and the things he has to say on social media? Where do you stand? Do you agree with him? Or do you think he's crazy? Let us know what you think. Until next time!